Hello dear students, you are welcome in this video. Dear students, this is another multiple choice question video on sonnet and elegy. So in the previous videos we talked about ode and ballad. In this video we will have multiple choice questions on sonnet and elegy. Both forms are very significant, and dear students, as usual you need to take a pen and paper and note down the questions and their options. So here we have 20 questions for 40 marks. Each question carries 2 marks. So at the end of this video you need to calculate your score and convey it to me through the comments. So let's start the video. So here MCQs on sonnet and elegy, two important forms of poetry. Very first question on our screen is: the form of poetry sonnet was popularly associated with Italian poet dash. We have options A. Petrarch, B. Plutarch, C. Petronius, and D. Horace. Please note down your option. So dear students, here we have correct option A. Petrarch. So Petrarch was the poet who popularized this form in Italy, and later this form traveled in the Europe and in England and became so famous in the world. So if you go to English literature, you will find these small poems are very interesting for the readers and they read a lot. Next question, question number 2. Dash is a short poem recited with the accompaniment of music. Options are A. Elegy, B. Lyric, C. Sonnet, and D. Ode. Please note down correct option, and correct option is C. Sonnet. So sonnet is a short poem recited with accompaniment of music. Number 3. There are dash lines in the sonnet. Options are A. 16, B. 14, C. 18, and D. 12. Please note down your option, and the correct option is B. 14 line. So sonnet is basically known for a poem which has very strict kind of lines, 14 lines. If you find there is a poem with 14 lines, it is, you can say, a sonnet. So sonnet can be recognized with its form of 14 lines. This is a basic feature of sonnet. Next question, number 4. In Petrarchan or classical sonnet divided into, options are A. quatrain, a stanza of 4 lines, B. octave, a stanza of 8 lines, C. sestet, a stanza of 6 lines, and D. B and C. Please note down your option, and the correct option is D. B and C. Means if you look at Petrarchan sonnet, you find it is divided into 2 parts. 14 lines are divided into 2 parts. First is octave, a stanza of 4 lines each, means there are 2 quatrains in octave, and in sestet you find there are 6 lines, means 2 stanza of 3 lines each. So this is the pattern of Petrarchan, which is also called as classical sonnet. Please remember this. Next question. 5. AB, BA, AB, BA, CDE, CDE, or CDC, DCD, or CDE, DCE is the rhyming scheme of dash. Please recognize this rhyming scheme. Options are A. Shakespearean sonnet, B. Miltonic sonnet, C. Petrarchan sonnet, and D. English sonnet. So dear students, I know that this is a bit difficult question for you, but it is very important. If you are studying sonnet, you should know about variety of sonnets. You should know about kinds or types of sonnets and what kind of rhyming schemes are employed in sonnet. So here we have one of the rhyming scheme in the sonnet. You need to recognize this rhyming scheme. So students, here correct option is C. This is the Petrarchan rhyming scheme, Petrarchan sonnet. If you look, you find this rhyming scheme. This is the rhyming scheme of classical sonnet or Petrarchan sonnet. Question number 6. Octave is divided into dash and sestet into dash. So octave and sestet are divided into, options are A. 2 quatrains, 2 tercet, B. 2 tercets, 2 quatrains, C. 1 quatrain, 2 tercets, and D. None of the above. Please note down correct option, and the correct option is A. 2 quatrains and 2 tercets, as we have already talked that a quatrain includes 4 lines and a tercet includes 3 lines. So there are 2 quatrains in octave, and in sestet we have 2 tercets, means 3 lines stanza. Next question. Question number 7. What is called volta in Petrarchan or classical sonnet? Options are A turn in thought, B a turn in rhyming scheme, C a turn in quatrain, and D a turn in sestet. Note down your option, and correct option is A. It is a turn in the thought, which is called as volta in Petrarchan or classical sonnet. Question number 8. Petrarchan or classical sonnet is also called as, there is other name to Petrarchan or classical sonnet, which is that? Options are A English sonnet, B Italian sonnet, C Greek sonnet, and D Latin sonnet. Please note down your option, and correct option is B Italian sonnet, also called as Petrarchan or classical sonnet. Question number 9. Who introduced sonnet in England? This is a very important question, because we find that sonnet is originated in Italy, and Petrarch was the poet who popularized this form a lot, and then it traveled in England and other parts of Europe. So who brought this form from Italy to England? Here we have options: A William Shakespeare, B John Milton, C Edmund Spenser, and D Sir Thomas Watt and Henry Howard, who was Earl of Surrey. So please note down your option, and the correct option is D. Sir Thomas Watt and Henry Howard brought this form into England. Question number 10. ABAB, cdcd, efef, and gg is the rhyming scheme of dash. Options are A Italian sonnet, B English sonnet, C Greek sonnet, and D Spenserian sonnet. So please recognize this rhyming scheme, and the correct option is B English sonnet. Before we talked about Petrarchan or classical sonnet and its rhyming scheme. Now here we have English sonnet and its rhyming scheme. So please remember this rhyming scheme. It's very simple: AB AB, CD CD, EF EF, and last couplet is GG. So this is the rhyming scheme of English sonnet. Next question. 11. English sonnet is also called as. Options are A Miltonic sonnet, B classical sonnet, C Shakespearean sonnet, and D Spenserian sonnet. Please note down your option. I think this is a simple question, and the correct option is C. It is Shakespearean sonnet, which is also called as English sonnet. Why it is called as Shakespearean sonnet? Because Shakespeare has popularized this form a lot in England. If you look at Shakespearean sonnet, Shakespeare has composed so many sonnets, and he made some experiments on the theme, experiments on the rhyming scheme. You find experiments on different elements which are introduced in the sonnet. So this sonnet, English sonnet, also called as Shakespearean sonnet. Next question. 12. How many sonnets are composed by Shakespeare? Options are A 150, B 152, C 164, and D 154. I think this is a simple question, and the correct option is D. 154 sonnets are composed by Shakespeare. 13. ABAB, BCBC, cdcd, and EE is the rhyming scheme of dash. A classical sonnet, B Spenserian sonnet, C Italian sonnet, and D Miltonic sonnet. So please note down correct option, and the correct option here we have B Spenserian sonnet. So now we talked about classical sonnet and its rhyming scheme, then we talked about English or Shakespearean sonnet and its rhyming scheme, and now here we have third type. Actually it is subtype in English sonnet, and this sonnet is popularized, or this sonnet scheme, rhyming scheme, is popularized by Edmund Spenser, and he found this scheme very useful, and later many poets, many authors who composed sonnets followed this rhyming scheme: AB, AB, BC, BC, CD, CD, and last couplet is EE. If you look at this sonnet rhyming scheme, you will find there is connection between first stanza, second stanza, and third stanza, and the same connection goes to the last couplet. So this is the rhyming scheme. Next question. Shakespeare's dash sonnets addressed to a dark lady are very famous. So generally Shakespeare addressed his sonnets to dark lady, and these sonnets are famous as the sonnets of options are A, nature, B, love, C, friendship, and D, spiritual. So please note down your option, and the correct option here we have B, love. So the sonnets which are addressed to dark lady are famous as love sonnets. So these are the love sonnets. Next question, question number 15. Elegy, the form of poetry originated in dash. Options are A, Greece, B, India, C, France, and D, England. Please note down correct option. Now students, we are talking about elegy. Till this question we talked about sonnet, its types, its rhyming scheme, form, subject matter, etc. Here now we are moving to the next part, that is elegy. So please recognize this option, correct option. And the correct option is Greece. As you see, there are many forms of poetry or forms of literature which are basically originated in Greece. In the same way, we have elegy originated in Greece. Next question, 16. What is elegy? Options are A, lamentation, B, a joyful song, C, a commemoration, and D, A and B. So please note down your option. I think this is a simple question. And the correct option is A, lamentation. So elegy is nothing but a lamentation. Next question, what is elegiac measure? This question is important. Options are A, dactylic pentameter followed by a dactylic hexameter, B, a dactylic hexameter followed by a dactylic pentameter, C, an iambic pentameter followed by an iambic hexameter, and D, an iambic hexameter followed by an iambic pentameter. So dear students, this is again another difficult question in this series, but you should remember this question because these type of questions are asked in many competitive exams like SET, NET, JRF or other. So dear students, please pay attention to this question and recognize the option. So basically elegy is recognized before, or if you look at the classical elegy, it is completely based on the elegiac measure. And what kind of meter, what kind of measure is used to compose this elegy in Greece or in classical period. So we have here 4 options, and the correct option is B, a dactylic hexameter followed by a dactylic pentameter. Now what is dactylic hexameter? Dactyl is nothing but a long syllable. First syllable is long, which is followed by 2 short syllables. There are 3 syllables in dactyl. It is followed by 2 long syllables. And this pattern repeats 6 times, and hence it is called as dactylic hexameter. In the same way, the same pattern repeats 5 times and called as dactylic pentameter. This measure, this meter is used to compose elegy in classical period. But in English, if you find English elegy, this meter is not followed. This meter is not used. Next question, question number 18. The theme or tone of elegy is often dash A, happy and charming, B, beautiful nature, C, romantic, and D, sad and gloomy. So tone or theme of the elegy, and the correct option is D, sad and gloomy. Next question, the classical elegiac measure is highly followed in English elegy. Whether it is true or false, option A is true and option B is true. Again, this is a simple question and the correct answer is B, it is false. So in English elegy, we do not have this kind of meter followed. Dear students, here we have last question. Who composed the famous elegy written in a country churchyard? So this is a very famous elegy in English literature. If you look at this elegy, you find this elegy has been composed with a great skill, and there are so many things included in this elegy. If you look at its theme, if you look at the tone or the atmosphere described or the scenery described in the elegy, it is beautiful and beautifully narrated by the poet. So who composed this elegy written in a country churchyard? I hope you know this, and the correct option is Thomas Gray composed this famous elegy called Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard. So Dear students, these are all 20 questions, and I hope you understood all these questions and you might have solved many of the questions. So please calculate your score and send your score through comments. I will appreciate your score. So friends, this is all about this video. We will meet in the next video. Till watch Literature Simply, subscribe to Literature Simply, press the bell notification icon, like this video, share this video among your friends. Thank you very much.